Here we go. Geek Outings test footage 2. Topic today is worst retcon of all time. I think the first way we're going to do it is we'll go round robin on what a retcon is. I looked it up, and it's retroactive continuity is the definition. I think it's just when people fuck up and they make stories up to fix their fuck ups.
There's been some good retcons, but
Lucy, retcon definition to you?
Retcon definition is changing somebody's origin story. Because characters can evolve, but when you get down to just changing the basic origin story, I call that a retcon.
Yeah, Bobby?
Yeah, it's interesting because I was thinking about that too. I'm not going to get to what my least favorite retcon is, but I remember thinking about, like, for instance, Identity Crisis, how they revealed what happened to Dr. Light, but then they didn't change him, but they gave a different backstory to why he was such a goofy villain by saying, so, but I don't consider that a retcon. I feel like that's filling in pieces, so anyway. But a retcon is actually, retroactive continuity, rewriting like an origin story, or what was supposed to be canon is now not canon for whatever reason.
Trotter?
Yeah, no, I agree with Bobby. The issue of retcon, I think, comes down to, is it canon or not? Is it a what if? Is it just a spin-off to sell books because MCU's got a popular version of a character out right now? I actually wanted to bring up the Dr. Light thing because I don't think rape is goofy, but I think that was one of the biggest retcon issues, that everywhere else that Dr. Light appears is now horrible.
Oh, yes.
Because of that. Like, he's in one of those Justice League Girl movie cartoons, he's like a professor, or it's the Teen Titans one. And he's a professor in the back.
Rob, remember when
he can't be on
kid
fucking
got a
dudes.
Dr. Light out of a
yeah
meal thing?
So anyway, the point being is that, so this is what I think the issue is. A retcon is individual, or perhaps a team or a title, as opposed to a reboot like Crisis or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like a button push and this is just a whole new universe for all intents and purposes.
Yeah, so New 52 wouldn't be considered a retcon.
That's funny. Bobby and I were talking about that earlier because that's totally a reboot. But, some people could maybe work it into a retcon because it does technically affect what's going on now.
It becomes canon for the most part. And so does that make it a retcon because it's part of continuity? And there's just some point, due to the nature of the medium, there's a generational lifespan where everything has to have the button push. Like, Tony Stark couldn't be fighting in Vietnam today.
We started in the Korean War, didn't he?
No, it was Vietnam. And it just wouldn't have connected in that same way. And so you have to have that button push every so often just to make it fresh for the new generation reading.
To the worst retcon, now that we've kind of defined it. Mine is an easy, low-hanging piece of fruit, but I'm just going to get out of the way real quick. Maximum clonage, Spider-Man, Scarlet Spider, the whole bullshit with Kane and, the clone that supposedly died back in 78 or whatever ends up being Spider-Man. And the Spider-Man we're reading about basically our whole life is the clone. That is just stupid. And I think fans embraced the fact it was stupid and then said, fuck you. And then they changed it. So that is a fucking terrible retcon. And it's an example of how bad it is when the fans are just like, nah. And then it changes. Lucy.
Well, I agree. That was probably one of the worst. I'm going to go to a current one right now that you and I have been discussing, and retconning the origin of the Hulk and all
Get a little
the
closer, Lucy.
all the Gamma Force in the entire universe. Do Bobby and Rob?
No.
besides-
I don't know what you're talking about. Please fill me in. What's going on?
Okay, so now the Hulk was not created by the gamma bomb explosion. He was created by the one below all, who is the source of all gamma radiation and gamma creatures in this universe. He controls his own universe where he is all powerful, and the Hulk is his way of trying to get an inroad into the current Marvel universe. Yes, it is. That's I shake my head too, Bobby. I've shaken my head on this for a long time.
Well, I mean, look, it's a variation on the one above all, which is kind of a weird concept too. You know, like
Exactly.
you're the comic book artist or the writer, and you're the one above the living tribunal. You know, like that's already kind of stupid anyway. So, and it
So
also doesn't really
I
give
think
power to
that's
any
kind of
individual.
stupid.
It's like
Yeah, I
random.
do.
So the one below all is just as random. It's not really definitive either. It's just
Well, they haven't quite defined him yet, and I'm not here to defend him. They haven't quite defined him. If he's the one below all and has equal power, he could bust out of hell without using the Hulk.
The one above all is a very meta aspect, like when John Byrne inserts himself into the Trial of Galactus type of thing. So perhaps the one below all is the editor, the person who can cut their stories out, the person who can make them not exist anymore, the person who puts the fear. That's like I said, it's a very meta concept, but the aspect is like, I mean, when they made the one above all, they were smoking their bargain basement marijuana and doing their so,
Bobby, what's your worst retcon?
All right. So it's interesting. We talked about the difference between reboots and retcons. My least favorite retcon, which I understand is a reboot in itself, but not really, was Infinite Crisis with Superboy Prime throwing a temper tantrum and smashing his fist against the walls of reality. Like it was so stupid. But you know what came out of it is we got Red Hood, we got Jason Todd back. But again, I thought that cheapened Batman's experience. I mean, come on, like Jason Todd dying at the hands of the Joker was something I read as a kid, and it changed comics for me. It really did. And so, for them to do a huge thing like that and to be in such a way of like he was throwing a temper tantrum, I just thought was just so poorly written.
So how do you reconcile that not being a reboot? And what's the difference? How do you say that's more of a retcon than a reboot?
Well, I think because you're just altering something, you're not really
it brought back
changing the history.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to speak over you.
Oh no, I was just answering. I mean, yeah, I think he was dead, and then that happens, and it changes the fact that he died, so it retcons his death. Not
Yeah, it
much
was
else.
one of
It's the
his,
same person,
one of his punches. Yeah, it was one of his punches to send a ripple through reality that reanimated Jason Todd in the coffin he was buried in. So it wasn't like a reboot of the universe, but it changed one specific character.
And I think it was terrible too, Bobby. Don't get me wrong. But the Crisis on Infinite Earths brought it back to one universe, and then that created a multi-universe again. That's why I'm saying that's kind of a reboot. But I agree with you. I think it was a bad decision.
You're right. That was like the new 52 was the step after that.
All right, I think we're drifting. Schroeder, what's your worst reboot?
I wanted to chime in on Bobby's Superboy. I just want to say, of course it was going to be that. But that, I think, was another one of those meta things, like with other Lex and like old Superman, like being like, kids these days just don't know how to run the universe. Like, I think, again, like that was one of those very meta writings. And Superboy Prime is this like angsty, like the angsty new version of comic books that everything has to be crazy and super powerful. But it just offset the universe. Like he had to have a ring of Green Lanterns around him to keep him in a prison. Anyway, my worst retcon, and I don't know if this is so much a retcon due to the way that it unfolds, but I would have to say Nightcrawler, just as an existence. Because Kurt Wagner coming out and like being like the super Catholic German dude, but then Mystique becomes his mom.
Oh.
His dad is a demon mutant from another dimension. And he has and Banff is the name of all of the demon children from that other dimension. It just gets so wily and wacky. I think the demon devil thing, and because they were always trying to play Kurt off of his I look like a devil, but I believe in God the most. And that never really successfully comes across in any of the movie. Well, nothing comes across successfully in the movies. But then like making his dad the devil is leaning so hard into that you fall off the railing.
Yeah. I guess we'll just end it right there. So, editor, I'm out.
Word.
All right, F. Joel Cole, I'm out.
Lucy, we're doing the closeout here. Stay professional.
Yeah, we can do that like tomorrow or next week, or text me or whatever.
We got the editor. He can edit that shit out.
Well, that's the problem. Once it gets to like 45, 50 minutes, it's a lot of shit. You know what I mean? We keep it to 30, 20. It's a little easier on.
Right.
Well, I'm not even the editor right now. It's fucking Bobby doing it. You can tell.
Hey, I want all you guys to check out the Immortal Hulk because it is stupid and it sucks.
Okay. That's like it's like Jesus and Meryl, like that would be his rainbow, like, and it sucks.
It's like someone reaching into the fridge and like drinking the milk and being like, I think it's rotten. Here, take a fucking sip.
But then putting it back with a sip, like to get the next guy.
This is Rob Strotter, Boba Fresh, Geek Out. Peace.